just gonna be fine. No matter what lays ahead of us, there's plenty of miracles down the line. And if you ever feel you're hopeless, remember that we're just gonna be fine. No matter what lays ahead of us, there's plenty of miracles down the line. And if you ever feel you're hopeless, remember that we're just gonna be fine.
Good evening and welcome to our city council meeting. Tonight we have two meetings. Most of you are here for the second. Sorry. Our first meeting is, it has to do with a public hearing related to a proposed local alternative expenditure limit, or called home rule. To our students who are here, this is good to know. And with that, I would ask the city clerk to take the roll.
Mayor Hartke,
Here.
Vice Mayor Rowe,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Here.
Councilmember Orlando.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation tonight will be given by Pastor Sean Eddy from Chandler Bible Church, and our Pledge of Allegiance by Vice Mayor Rowe. Pastor.
Thank you, Mayor Hartke, Vice Mayor Rowe, council members, and city staff. It's a pleasure to greet you today on behalf of the people of Chandler Bible Church, and I'm honored to go before Almighty God on your behalf. Let's pray, please. Our dear Almighty God, we do ask that as you have guided in these men and women's lives, you'll continue to do so. Thank you for the high calling that you have placed them in. We're told to pray for those who are in authority over us as citizens of communities, and we're thankful for the care that these leaders provide for our community of Chandler. Lord, we pray that you would give them keen insight, that you would guide and guard their hearts and minds, and that all that they say, do, and think would be for your glory and honor. I know that their desire is to serve the people and to do it well. And I pray that they would accomplish that task with delight, with good pleasure, and to give honor to your name. And I do ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor, and extend our greetings to Chandler Bible Church. At this point, I would ask that in part of our public hearing, if we can now open that and have a staff presentation, please.
Okay, Mayor, it is going to be me tonight. So first of all, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight is actually the first public hearing for the proposed local alternative expenditure limitation called Home Rule Option for Chandler. On June 3rd, 1980, the state of Arizona placed a new expenditure limitation on cities and towns. The Arizona Constitution sets a maximum spending limit based upon a formula incorporating expenditures in fiscal year 1979-80, adjusted for annual increases in population and inflation. The formula also allows for some expenditure exclusions. The Constitution also provides several alternatives to the state-imposed spending limits: a one-time override, local expenditure limitation or home rule, and a permanent base adjustment of the base limit. Chandler has always opted for the local expenditure limitation home rule option. Residents' approval of home rule gives the City Council the authority to make its budget decisions based upon revenues available and services and amenities desired by the citizens of Chandler, rather than being held to a state formula based on a 1980 budget. Chandler's voters have approved the home rule option 10 consecutive times since 1982, most recently in August 2018, beginning fiscal year 2019-20. The approval is good for 4 budget years, so the 2018 approval of home rule covers us through the upcoming fiscal year 2022-23 budget. The next home rule would then start with the fiscal year 2023-24 budget. 2 public hearings are required, so tonight is the first of those hearings, and we have scheduled the second for Thursday, March 24th. Following that second public hearing, Council will be asked to vote on a resolution to place home rule on the primary ballot for August 2nd. The Council vote requires a 2/3 majority to approve the resolution and put the item on the ballot. That's 5 to 7 vote. If and when placed on the ballot, it needs a majority of those voting to approve. The preliminary financial implications of operating without home rule are shown here. The state computed limit takes the 1978 population and the 1980 budget and applies a formula for population growth and inflation to come up with a comparable budget of about $298 million. In addition to this base amount, cities are allowed to spend bond proceeds, interest income, federal grants, and some other revenues, which do not count against the spending limit and make the amount higher, bringing the total state maximum to about $538 million. This compares to the city's anticipated fiscal year 2023-24 expenditures of about $754 million. Therefore, the preliminary projected amount over the state limit is about $216 million. Without approval of a home rule option, the city would need to reduce budgeted expenses by this amount. If the city were not to go forward with home rule, we don't know exactly which programs or services would be impacted, but some of the types of things that might be impacted are shown here. Of course, none of this would happen without working through a full process with city manager, mayor, and council. It is important to note that home rule does not increase taxes. Without home rule, revenue will continue to be received, but it would not be able to be spent based on a state-imposed expenditure limit. Lastly, I want to show an abbreviated version of the home rule election schedule. There are actually many more administrative steps in the process, but I boiled it down to a few key dates shown here. Of course, tonight is our public hearing 1, and then Thursday, March 24th, is our public hearing 2. Immediately after, a resolution will be presented for adoption during a special meeting. The following Monday, April 4th, we will send off the financial worksheets to the State Auditor General. The argument filing period is April 4th through May 4th. During May, we will be working with City Clerk preparing the voting pamphlet, and these pamphlets would go out June 28th after approval by the Auditor General. Then we end with the actual ballot item on the primary election, August 2nd. That concludes the public hearing presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dawn. It was a good print up that you provided as well. So I know one of the things that we had talked about, we've been making some pretty large advance payments to PSPRS, and those are the kind of things that would not be exempt from this, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor, that is correct.
So there's quite a few things that we have done that that have been part of our policies to try to pay down debt and use our one-time funds in particular, where we're probably going to be most slighted with this types of things. And whether it's softball or baseball fields or roads, as mentioned, those are the kind of things that we will really struggle with. And again, I do want to assure our voters that Chandler is a very well-run city, and we take very good care and are very accountable for all the dollars. So this is not a reflection or trying to ding cities on saying that you're loose spenders. If anything, by our AAA bond ratings, it shows that we have been very protective of taxpayer dollars. So, Council, any comments or questions related? Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. Good introduction. Appreciate those words. So quick question, Don, the $758 million, or that rough number, does that include carryover from the previous year, 754, right?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, it does include that. It includes any operating or capital carry forwards of anything still in process that we rebudget in the next year.
Okay, so potentially those projects could come to a halt because you wouldn't have the authorization to continue to complete the project.
Potentially, correct.
Got it. Okay. I didn't connect those dots until just recently. We talked about a lot of activity. All right. Yeah, I just want to echo what the mayor said. We've been doing this a while. We have a good fiscal policy, and we'll get more data out to the folks of what this really means. It's, I guess, in the same scale of a school override, somewhat that the Chandler voters are used to, as well as other Kyrene and other school districts, where it gives authorization to continue spending above what the ceilings were set 42 years ago. So,
That's a good comparative.
okay.
Yes,
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks.
Additional questions or comments from Council?
Sorry,
Councilman-
thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Not at this time. I will wait for the next presentation because I think we still need to give more information for those who have questions and things. So I'll wait and ask a couple of questions I can ask you later. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Seeing no additional discussion from the council, is there any discussion from the audience? Hearing none, I would like to close our public hearing. But don't go anywhere. Next on our agenda tonight is our council study session. And again, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Harkey,
Here.
Vice Mayor Rowe,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Here,
Councilmember Orlando.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is scheduled public appearances, and I would like to invite Councilmember Ellis to join me up front. So first on our scheduled public appearances is scheduled recognitions. I'd like to turn that over to our new Assistant City Manager, Tad Willing.
All right, thank you, Mayor and council members. We do have 4 service recognitions tonight. So our first recognition is in our Public and Utilities Department. No worries. I would like to call on Greg Capps, our Utility Resource Manager, to give the recognition, this first one.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to call up Naomi Fletcher so we could recognize her for 15 years of service. In March of 2007, Naomi started her employment with the City of Chandler in the Meter Services Division and soon moved over to the Wastewater Collection Division. After 6 years working in wastewater collection, she transferred over to the Water Distribution Division, where she's been ever since. With the Water Distribution Division, Naomi has proven to be a dependable worker and is willing to take on new challenges and projects where her work is greatly appreciated. Naomi promotes a team environment and provides excellent customer service. Naomi has been recognized several times over the years, receiving recognition from teamwork and professionalism, not only by the City of Chandler, but residents as well. Naomi, thank you for your 15 years of dedication and commitment as a valued employee with the Public Works and Utility Department.
All right, our second recognition is with the Chandler Police Department, and I'd like to ask our Chief Duggan to present this recognition.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'd like to ask Blanca Casada to come forward, in recognition of her 15 years with the city. Blanca started her career with the police department in 2007 as a records clerk specialist, where she quickly developed a reputation for her hard work and customer service. Blanca was recognized for her commitment to quality service, her positive attitude, and her willingness to help others, earning the respect of her coworkers and her supervisors. Blanca's hard work and dedication followed her in 2012 when she was promoted to her current position of crime prevention specialist. In this position, Blanca developed innovative ways to enhance the crime prevention education capabilities through the use of technology and community engagement. In fact, she is the face and program manager of our award-winning Citizens Academy program and instructs a number of other crime prevention classes. Blanca's hard work and passion for crime prevention has positively impacted our community and helped make Chandler a safer place to live and work. Blanca recently completed or about to complete her bachelor's degree in public administration, graduating this fall. So it's a great accomplishment. So Blanca, congratulations and thank you for your 15 years of service with the city.
Our third recognition is with the City Magistrate Office, and I'd like to ask our presiding City Magistrate, Alicia Skupin, to provide the recognition.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am very proud to announce that our Angela Jackson from the court is being recognized. Angie, if you could come up, please, to the front. She has served the city of Chandler for 20 years. Angie is a cherished member of the court, offering years of institutional knowledge that cannot be replaced. Her fellow team members value her expertise and insight and look to her for guidance and direction. Aside from Angie's understanding of the court system, she brings joy, friendship, a good sense of humor, and comfort to those that she works with and also the people that she serves on a daily basis at the court. Angie has an extraordinary ability to make everyone around her feel comfortable and important. Angie, thank you for your commitment to the city of Chandler and to the Chandler Municipal Court. Thank you.
Better, even better.
Our fourth and final recognition is with our Community Services Department, and I'd like to ask John Sefton, our new Community Services Director, to provide that recognition.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What a great way to start my very first discussion with you in recognizing a fabulous member of Team Chandler. I'd like to welcome to the dais Debbie Moreno. It is my distinct pleasure to recognize Debbie Moreno for her 20 years of service. Debbie started her career at the Chandler Sunset Library, providing story times for toddlers and preschoolers. Helping families discover the love of reading has always been a passion of Debbie's. She wanted to make librarianship her profession. And just like that, she received her master's in library and information science in 2017. Great job. Debbie soon found herself supervising youth services at the Sunset Library, where she was instrumental in the library receiving several grants. In 2019, the library received funding for the children's literacy spaces at each of the Chandler's 4 branches. And in 2020, funding for over 1,000 grab-and-go kits that put program supplies in the hands of patrons while the library was only able to offer so much. Debbie also wrote a grant that put the permanent story walk out at Desert Breeze Park. What a great way to connect parks with literacy. Thank you. Her latest accomplishments has become by becoming the newest branch manager at the Sunset Library. Well done, Debbie, and thank you for all you do every day.
All right. Next, we have recognition of the National Procurement Institute 2021 Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award. And Dawn Lang, please explain this to us.
Okay. All right, March is National Purchasing Month, and tonight I have the honor of recognizing the city's purchasing team for receiving the Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award for 2021 from the National Procurement Institute, or NPI. Here to receive the award is Christina Pryor, our Purchasing and Materials Manager. Her other 6 team members could not be here tonight, although they were a big part of this effort as well. This distinguished award recognizes organizational excellence by measuring an agency's commitment to continuous improvement in areas such as innovation, professionalism, e-procurement, productivity, and leadership. The city has received this award 17 consecutive years and is one of only 10 agencies in Arizona and one of only 69 cities in the US and Canada to receive the award. Chandler's purchasing division belongs to an elite group of purchasing organizations in government that operate with the highest standards of quality and efficiency, receiving the best value with our city tax dollars for our goods and services. And I'm also going to mention that Christina Pryor also received a national award for her work in this area, recognized among people across the entire nation. So we're very proud of her. My thanks and appreciation to our outstanding purchasing division team and for their commitment and dedication to their profession, the city, and the community. Thank you.
All right, next we have National Library Week proclamation. So I'd like to invite Chris Sherman to come up, the Assistant Library Manager, to the dais to receive this. And I will read it. Whereas today's libraries are more about what they can do with and for their communities, impacting lives well beyond the resources, stories, and adventures that stack the shelves. And whereas the Chandler Public Library has long served as a trusted institution at the heart of our city, neighborhoods, and school campuses, and continues to serve people of all ages, interests, and backgrounds, providing the resources and space to engage in lifelong learning. And whereas the Chandler Public Library system and professionals look beyond their traditional roles and provide transformative opportunities for education, employment, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and engagement. It's a lot of E's, as well as new services that connect closely with community needs. And whereas our Chandler Library teams lead their communities in innovation, children's programming, educational workshops, and access to our librarians thoughtfully develop collections and programs that are wide-ranged and explore the diversity of our ever-changing society. And whereas America is celebrating National Library Week, including April 5 as National Library Workers' Day, and immeasurable contributions made by the library staff, and April 6th is Library Giving Day, encouraging community support for libraries. Now, therefore, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of the City of Chandler, Arizona, do hereby proclaim April 3rd through 9th, 2022 as National Library Week. And I encourage all residents to visit our libraries and explore all that they have to offer.
So I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody that's been involved in supporting the library. So mayor and council and all of the leadership in Chandler. We couldn't do it without all of you and the wonderful customers and folks that visit our libraries. And we're looking forward to having everybody come back. So we're starting to see that, and it's wonderful. We're ready for folks, and we're up and running completely. So please come and see us, and we look forward to that.
Thank you, Chris. All right, let's take a picture. Thank you. And last, I want to just mention that we're going to be doing the actual award next month so that some of the participants that helped make this possible aren't on spring break. But at last week's National League of Cities, we, the City of Chandler, won the City Cultural Diversity Award. And while attending the National League of Cities conference, our City Council accepted the award for the City Cultural Diversity Award for cities between the population of 200,001 and 500,000. And we will be delaying the presentation of this award to an April City Council meeting so that the community partners that were involved in this project can be part of the recognition. I do want to thank our city, our diversity staff, Galveston Elementary, and all who made this possible. And with that, let's go back up to the days. All right, Council, next on our agenda tonight is our consent agenda. There have been a few items that have been called in, and I will call and we'll just work through these. The first is item number 9 by Councilmember Stewart with possible questions by Councilmember Orlando. So do we have a staff presentation? And then Councilmember Stewart, you can start with questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Do we have a staff presentation? There we go. Sorry. Thank you, sir.
So before you, for your consideration, this project is the Tumbleweed Master Plan update for the Diamond Sports Complex. This is a 4-field complex, and the design professional agreement will be for $588,441 and a penny, which represents about 2.8% of the planned construction pricing. This process will also, the professional services will also include a programming analysis, which will include the public information meetings, stakeholder meetings, staff meetings, obviously with in-house as well as with the Parks and Recreation Board. There'll be a 3 iterative step for the design process. Will be a 30% review, a 60% review, as well as a 100% review. This process will include the cost of permitting and associated discovery. And at the end, we'll have a complete set of construction documents. This process will also include some design or some bid assistance, helping us to understand the pricing. And if you've all heard it, right now pricing for anything construction is a little bit up in the air. So all of that is in line for this phase. Let's see if this will come up for your viewing. So for orientation, it is the southwest corner of Tumbleweed Park. It is the fourplex Diamond Sports, softball primarily, baseball if we've got the space for the older ages, significant amount of parking, as well as landscaping, a roadway extension, and it might not come through well on the graphic, but the half street improvement along Ryan Road is quite extensive as well. And with that, I do reserve the right to call a friend if we need additional resources, but I'll do my very best to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm really concerned about that penny that's over there
I was
now.
just kidding.
So in the design phase, one of the things we talked about in the planning of this and talking about the need for fields was ensuring that these were multi-purpose fields, meaning that they had the ability to be used for baseball. And I know you and I talked on Friday, I think it was, or Thursday. The days are blending together with the Ostrich Festival going on. But the biggest opportunity for us is to be able to do everything there. And I know on the diagram that you just showed, it says softball fields, but we really need to make sure, does our design group know that we're trying to maximize that space and even use for adult, not adult, but older kids? So there's 330 down the lines, 410s in center, with lighted, and they're beautiful, best in class fields that I think our community expects.
Great question, Mayor, Member Stewart. There is only so much space within this area, but within the contract, we have written a minimum of 300-foot fields. That is really the baseline that we're starting with, pardon the pun. But there is only so much space. Any more design of these types of amenities, it is very much with the mindset of multi-purpose, multi-function, multifunctional, and we do our very best to achieve that in the different for the different sports. That is what the design phase is all about as well, to connect, as I mentioned earlier, about connecting with the stakeholder groups, connecting with the community, connecting with staff so that we can help prepare the very best, given the construction constraints. And there's a lot of constraints when we consider anything with construction. That's budget as well as spatial, right? So it's yes, we take that with emotion to recognize, to maximize for the sports in our very best way.
Thank you. So do you think it's not possible to build baseball fields that can be used for softball?
Mayor, Member Stewart, I think that depending upon the age group or the size or the length, that yes, at 300 feet, you can use Little League and under playing baseball on a field like this with portable mounds and others. As you talk about sports at the higher age group, and to get the 90-foot field with the 400-foot outfield at center, 320, 350 at the wings, there is going to be, you would have to sacrifice either the number of fields in order to achieve that space, otherwise, or it's shorter fields.
Okay, well, that's a concern.
Okay.
As we don't get the opportunity to build fields very often, so we want to be able to maximize that space based on the number. I mean, it's baseball town, it's a softball town, it's football, it's an everything town, and so we're trying to maximize that space. So I'd love to find out, maybe is there a way we can slide it over to the east? Is there a way that we can incorporate those fields that are now practice fields to try to make that work? Is that something we could talk about with the design crew?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mayor. So, Councilmember, I think we would have probably have to erode into those fields to the north that you really liked. So,
I don't think that would be the best interest of our design planning.
Councilmember Orlando.
So, Mayor, I want to take us back a little bit here. As you know, the design of this was in the budget many years ago, was then put in because we have over 350 residents from the Chandler's Girls Softball League that said their fields are inadequate. They're at Foley Park, and they look at some of the fields at some of the other facilities that we're playing on today, and they're saying, why can't we have just as good as fields as everyone else does? So that was the expectations by many residents in this community. The first stakeholder meeting was softball folks, both adult and little, and youth softball. The problem we're facing with these things, again, is the distance and the baselines. And if we do artificial turf, which is the next phase of this subject, it even becomes compounds more because of the artificial turf issue of a skin field versus non-skin field. So I just want to be very clear where I'm coming from on this issue. These were designed, or at least initially, was to bring this forward many, many years for our girls who have been competing at Foley Field since 1977, having inadequate fields compared to what other people are playing in other cities and even in our own little leagues. So this was even bought off by the Youth Baseball League, which I'm very close to them as well, that these these ladies need the same amenities that anyone else has. Now, if we want to make adult league and stuff like that for multi-purpose, in my mind, that's what multi-purpose means, having both adult and youth softball on these fields. So that was my concern. My second question is, quite frankly, is what's the estimated timing of these being built?
So Mayor, Member Orlando, this is the design phase, which we have allotted just over 300 days for. So we would expect by this time next year to
Good.
have this piece completed. Within the CIP is an additional construction dollars, which will allow us to go into that phase. I will not stand before you and promise anything committal on time, just simply knowing the circumstance right now in the marketplace. But you could expect in typical, or in my experience, a good 18 months maximum on a build time for something of this
Fair.
nature.
And that's pretty much what we've been telling the residents all along,
Great.
that time frame. So we're still in sync in that. So, yeah. And again, welcome back to Chandler.
So we're also, to Councilmember Stewart's point, I mean, we're going to be repurposing the fields at not Tumbleweed, at Foley. And there's potentially some more uses that we can use with those, whether adult combo leagues, and see where that goes after these are completed. I mean, we're planning to do a reuse of those fields, correct?
That is my understanding, Mayor.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm putting you, I shouldn't have asked you that question, but, okay, yeah.
I do know, firsthand, Mickey has briefed me that we do have that on the horizon. Again, from a timing standpoint, all that comes with scheduling of our leagues and everything that's going on. So it's a delicate dance moving forward on how we repurpose, complete the construction, utilize the space. And again, my first 3 weeks here, I recognize that staff is doing a phenomenal job at juggling the many different priorities, parameters, and programs that are out there.
Yeah, very good. Any additional comments or questions? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. So anyway, welcome to the podium. That's awesome. So I'm sure staff has been doing this, but I feel like that we have a new superintendent of public schools, Frank Narducci. I think that I'm hoping and I'm optimistic that we'll have some better partnerships with them in the future, not only for sporting activities, but for a number of other things. They have a lot of facilities, and we do too. And if we can share those, I think we do some big things. So I hope that we will pursue that stuff and have some good meetings with the schools.
Mayor. We're going to give you more than 3 weeks to have great answers for all these things, so trust us.
Mayor.
Councilmember.
Welcome to the phone. Welcome to Team Chandler. We appreciate you. I think you're doing an excellent job. I mean, we do kind of have a lot of questions, but I just wanted to say that, Chandler has always been a welcoming city with, parks and stuff. And with this role, hopefully you get a chance to look at all the parks and get a chance to look at different projects we can do and help some of the parks that does need, help. We know that there's some inequities when it comes to some of the parks because we only have limited resources, we only have limited staff, we only have so much capacity, but just look at them all and do the best you can. I know we continue to do the best we can to keep up with our parks and our recreational centers. So I just wanted to say, welcome to Team Chandler. Thank you so much, sir, and have a great day. Mayor.
Thank you.
Next item called in is by Councilmember Orlando, questions regarding pickleball courts. Councilmember Orlando.
Yeah, it's another hot button here, but we don't mind. We get paid for the hot issues. That's all right. That's good. So I know this is just for the facility upgrade, which is long needed, necessary, the actual amenities on the compound. But there is nothing in plans. So is there any expansion for pickleballs in this field, like, expanding facility? Or is this something we're going to be discussing at a later date for pickleball courts?
Mayor, Councilmember Orlando, this project does not include anything for expansion. This is completely renovation, primarily the support facilities that are within the tennis complex itself. So it's right in line with the council goal of taking care of what we've got and fixing up some of those areas. The tennis center is one of the older parts of that entire park and is due a bit of that fix up. The construction work is actually at about $245,000. So you can imagine that's going to do a nice fix up, but it's not a complete renovation by any means. As far as the pickleball, we do recognize the popularity of the sport. The entire world recognizes the popularity of the sport. We have some private sector that are involved. We currently have 9 courts throughout the city right now, 6 at Arrowhead and 3 at different areas. So I think that's something that is very much, we're on the cusp of getting to accommodating. And we recognize that, and we want to bring that forward to city leadership, a good analysis, a good structure into how we're going to approach the next phase of our pickleball service.
Great, I appreciate it. We have about 9 courts now, correct?
9 total, correct.
9 total, okay. Okay, thanks, appreciate that. Yeah, it's gonna be, they're gonna get filled up fast, so yeah, thanks. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it's great to see the renovations happening for the tennis courts. We have some private industry that are moving into the pickleball. Pickleball world has moved to Chandler. It's a huge complex. And now we're juggling with this. Let's make sure the city's not competing with private industry. Whoever thought that fields and pickleball and these things would start moving into the private sector? It's always been traditionally cities and towns have taken care of that. So that's interesting. But I don't think this will, even pickleball here would affect their business too much. Do you?
Thank you, Mayor. Member Stewart. I think in drawing from my experience in the past several years, I first introduced pickleball to a master planned community in 2006. So it has been growing tremendously. I don't know if it's my fault as far as that introduction. But the fact that private sector is investing, it demonstrates that our disposable income for a lot of these areas, it's like gymnasiums or other things, people's leisure time, how they approach their physical fitness. Pickleball is very much a social sport. It's as much mental and friendship as it is physical-ish. Much more, amenable to the knees for many, but it can be very much a highly competitive sport for some. Our challenge is going to be just that. How do we fit the right spot within the marketplace, allow the expansion and the growth of private sector, but at the same time providing open and access recreational amenities across our city. So we want to have a good study on this and really look at what's our next step and play that forward. We've got great trust from the voters. We've got trust from you as the leadership, and we want to take this special interest piece with earnesty and do a good job moving forward.
Thank you.
And council expect an invitation to this private company in second quarter of this year, or we should be there for when they open. They're excited to do the same. So any additional questions?
I just want to make sure that we have our Chandler pickleball uniforms. I'm ready to go, Mayor. I am.
Council tournament, is that what
Yeah, I'm down. Let's go.
The last council tournament we had was that cook-off and the chamber crushed us, if you all recall. So let's be careful how we handle this one. Thank you. All right, next item called in. I called in actually, having to do with item 13. I just wanted to have a well-rounded presentation with the Powerhouse Innovation Strategies and the 2023 End Zone Experience. Kim.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This item is a license agreement between the City of Chandler and Powerhouse Innovative Strategies. It's a week-long end zone experience to be held in February of 2023 that will feature approximately 10 events ranging from student-athlete workshops, welcoming reception, exhibition games, concerts at the Center for the Arts, downtown activities, and a game day family festival at Dr. A.J. Chandler Park. As a sponsor of the event, the city will provide a monetary contribution to be paid at milestones throughout the term of the contract and in-kind services such as waiving of park fees, Center for the Arts, and staffing. All maximum services are outlined in the contract, and any additional cost will be the responsibility of the producer. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So this is obviously going to be for our entire community and what you're describing, and should be a good tee up for the Super Bowl. I look forward for us kind of getting the calendar and seeing how we can participate. So thank you. Council, any additional comments or questions? Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thanks again, Mayor. I know this isn't strictly in the downtown, but is the DCCP going to play a role? I know we're going to get a new leader over there, but are we going to? Are they going to be involved?
Yes, through the mayor, vice mayor, we have asked the DCCP to be a participant in this. We've also asked Powerhouse to get in contact with the DCCP once this contract is approved. So we have outlined activities in the downtown as a priority in the contract.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Councilmember Ellis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Kim. Have we had our lawyer take a look at the contract and going over all the details so that we know that everything is seamless and as we go moving forward?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis, legal helped draw up the document. And so they were very much involved from the beginning to the end of it.
Thank you.
Next item, I think you're still up here perhaps. Item number 14, Councilmember Harris, staff presentation on the renaming of the main stage at Chandler Center for the Arts to Stina Murray Main Stage. Is that you, Kim, or somebody else?
Absolutely, but I'm going to turn it over to our Arts and Culture Manager, Michelle McLennan.
Thank you.
So nice, Mayor. So nice seeing you in chamber tonight.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
you
much.
being
Thank
here.
you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the time and honor it is as the president of the Chandler Cultural Foundation to make this recommendation. Stina Murray, a Chandler native and Chandler High School alumna, class of 1954, has provided her generous support of the Chandler Cultural Foundation and the Chandler Center for the Arts since she was the founding board member on the board of directors in 1989. She continues to serve the board as our treasurer. Her considerable financial contributions to the Chandler Cultural Foundation make up the largest continuous gift from an individual philanthropist in our 501c3's history. She is a member of the Jerry Brooks Legacy Society, having committed a gift to the Cultural Foundation in her estate planning. An avid arts fan and committed member of the community, she has worked diligently for more than 30 years to make the Chandler Center for the Arts the community gathering space that it has become. Stina is passionate about young people having access to the arts and to education. Serving several years on the Chandler Educational Foundation, she also sponsored student participation in virtually every program that we've ever done since its inception, including Connecting Kids and Vision Kids. For 11 years, she was the presenting sponsor of the Zoppe Italian Family Circus, which served over thousands of Chandler families, but over 6,000 free tickets for Title I students throughout that time. Stina has served as a member of the Chandler Historical Society board with considerable contributions to preserving the history of the city. Her parents, Franz and Bodil Thude, immigrated to Chandler from Denmark, purchasing 160 acres east of Price Road and south of Galveston for a dairy, and were among the original farming families of Chandler. The Thude family and their contributions in early Chandler have been commemorated with a park and kiosk located where the farm once sat. On October 28th of 2021, the Chandler Cultural Foundation proposed the recommendation for renaming the Main Stage Theater Stina Murray Main Stage. As a jointly shared facility, both the City of Chandler and the Chandler Unified School District need to approve the name change, and the Chandler Unified School District Governing Board approved the name change through a resolution on March 9th of 2022. So now I'm here before you for that resolution.
Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, I wanted to just bring this forward only because of the fact I wanted the people to know the history. There was debate and conversation about the history and why this particular individual, although there has been many individuals that have been a part of this. I know I've talked to other council members and they share that this rich history of the Chandler Center of the Arts have multiple hands connected to it. But this particular hand, because this is going to be on the main stage, more people wanted to better understand who this person was. And so thank you, and I appreciate you sharing that history with everyone. So thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mayor.
Additional
Mayor.
questions or comments? Councilmember Orlando.
So naming this the easy part. How did you get her? She's so humble as an individual to even agree to this. That's the magic.
Through Mayor Harkey, Councilmember Orlando, you know her well.
Yes.
It has taken. Stina is the most humble donor I've ever experienced in
Yep.
my career. She does not want recognition. She does not seek recognition. Stina has only positioned herself as a philanthropic, naming opportunities, as with the circus, when it supports furthering our mission and furthering that philanthropic support. And she understands that her name matters, and it makes a difference when people are seen for their philanthropic support. So thank you. Yes, she is. Not a fan of fanfare.
Yeah, she let me know that. Thank you.
Council, additional questions or comments?
Just one quick comment,
Councilmember
Mary.
Stewart.
I wish we could do this tonight and vote this through tonight. I mean, Sina's been a hallmark of that building for so many years, and her seating there with her daughter for so many shows. I can't remember going to a show that I didn't see her sitting in that front row.
Yes.
And always gracious and just grateful for everything that she has shared with us for our entire community. I know my daughter has spent time in summer camps there, and she wouldn't have been able to do that without the Performing Arts Center and without her commitment to our community. So I'm just grateful personally, but can't wait to do this. Thanks, Mayor.
All right. It's not mine. Yeah, it's the appropriate time we had music and talking. Thank you. Next item called in is item number 18. Councilmember Orlando requesting a quick briefing.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just an extension of what staff has done over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, and giving Chandler a little more tools and be able to preserve some of our historical perspective. As we just talked about the chamber, we just talked about the Arts Center, historical perspective. Now this is just another tool for us to move forward with. So I asked the staff to give us a couple minutes of what we're doing here and where do we need to go from here.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Orlando. I'm delighted to talk about historic preservation. So good evening. The item before you is to give staff the go-ahead to apply for certified local government status for Chandler. Certified Local Government, or CLG for short, is a program run by the State Historic Preservation Office, affectionately known as SHPO, and the National Park Service. This would make Chandler eligible for grants to support historic preservation, and the city can provide input on nominations to the National Register of Historic Places on Chandler sites. The adoption of our historic preservation ordinance qualified us for this designation. It is also another step in our historic preservation program. There's no upfront cost to the city, although the city would have to match the grants, which could be in kind, not cash. We're also asked about recent historic preservation activities. Staff is actively working with 3 neighborhoods on different levels of HP designation. Staff also attended the State Historic Preservation Conference last year for the first time. Chandler received recognition from the members there for adopting an HP ordinance, and we were also complimented on some of the unique and innovative ideas that we had in our ordinance to promote preservation. So with approval of this resolution, staff will begin working with SHPO to obtain the CLG designation. We'll bring that back to you, and I can answer any questions.
Questions?
No, great work as usual.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Next item number 21, Councilmember Orlando, briefing and questions.
Well, Mayor, I think what I'd rather do on this one, if it's okay with you and the council, is probably hold off the questions because there's going to be some residents here as well as developers on Thursday. So I'll just put all my questions on when we get the applicant and the residents here.
Thank you. Last then, item number 26, Councilmember Ellis, questions related to this item?
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager?
We've got our Economic Development Director, Micah, will be
Thank you.
providing some words.
Thank you, Micah. Appreciate you. You've been working on this thing for a while.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So thank you for having me tonight. Talk a little bit about this agenda item. As you're all familiar, the Chandler Strategic Framework Plan that you adopted several years back has a specific item in there that calls for the city to partner with higher education institutions and bring those education institutions to Chandler. And so what we have before you is an agreement with the University of Arizona to further their commitment to Chandler, specifically here within downtown Chandler. Our relationship with U of A dates back almost 10 years now to 2012, where they leased some space from the city with inside our community center. We have gone through multiple lease extensions with them, but they're now at the point where they're expanding.
Yes.
Going back to 2016 at the last lease extension, we really worked with them to increase their service offering within the community, to really focus on tech-oriented training to closely align with our goals as a community and our economic development framework. So what came out of that was our cyber operations boot camp and data analysis camps and certificates that they began to offer. And then that program morphed and even grew larger legs, where the city, Chandler Gilbert Community College, and Chandler Unified School Districts then started offering the 2+2 cyber operations programs at local high school. And from there, the program really began to take off, and U of A's presence here in Chandler became more apparent. A lot of the deans at the university were keenly aware of what was happening in Chandler from an economic development perspective and started working with the provost office to encourage additional programming. So we've had a lot of growth in this space. We're at the point now where they're going to almost double the space here in downtown at the Jonathan. Looking to begin construction on that, taking occupancy this August for classes this August. So it's moving quickly. It's completely in alignment with the council strategic framework, and we're really excited just to continue advancing economic development initiatives that benefit our local residents who don't always have the opportunity to go off to university, and for those older students as well who are looking for that in-person and hybrid education that's becoming so much more important in today's day and age. And happy to answer any specific questions you may have.
Councilmember Ellis, what you say?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mayor. I really appreciate that. The fact that you came today and give us a great overview of what's going on with this project and why is it important right now that we cross this road with this particular university. You know my passion for higher education. Every time we meet, we always discuss that. At this juncture right now, what is the benefit? And I know you mentioned it a little bit. What is really the economic impact of this kind of investment with a university here in the middle of downtown Chandler?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis, that's really the question of the 21st century. It's all about talent.
Yes.
We no longer compete on just cost or transportation access. In the
Mhm.
21st century, we compete on ideas.
Correct.
And having a talented workforce within our community allows us to attract employers. It allows our existing employers to expand.
Mhm.
And when we have healthy businesses and well-educated residents, it makes for a much more stable and not only community, municipal government, but also a quality of life
Yes.
that benefits everybody. So higher education really leads to a lot of the economic vitality that we've taken so advantage of here in Chandler.
Well, thank you so much for your work on this, and let's continue to move this thing forward.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I'm hoping to see more of that coming
ma'am.
through. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Orlando.
So, yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I'm intrigued about this. We talked about this earlier, and I also spoke with Frank Narducci, the superintendent of schools. And as you know, the high schools are doing these cybersecurity, cyber ops. Now we have the community college, and I just love this linkage to the higher education scenario. What's their thoughts on expanding this program?
So through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, the university, as I mentioned earlier, has been very excited with the partnership opportunities, not only at the K through 12 level, but also externally with our business partners. So right now, there's conversations taking place with the university on additional degree programs, specifically in STEM fields. We don't have any firm commitments, but based upon the space they're taking down, as well as existing conversations, they are very eager to grow their STEM footprint in Chandler. We just got an update today. You all are familiar with the GM announcement we had several months ago, and they're saying 40% of their software engineers are coming out of the U of A.
Yeah.
They love Chandler. They're going to continue to grow in Chandler, and the U of A is supplying them with this talented workforce to allow them to do so.
And real quick, the lease is 5 years on this, and with renewable, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so what's been shared with us, Councilmember Orlando, is there's a 5+5 lease term option, and as they grow, it readjusts to then market rates, which are mutually negotiated, And if there's any wonky stuff going on, there's arbitration language to make sure that they're getting to rates that are equitable and in line with then market rates.
Great, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mike, I know that recently with the Intel announcement expanding in Ohio was a compliment announcement of they're working with community colleges, specifically Chandler, Gilbert, and Mesa, to host and sponsor 2-week tech training, pretty expansive training that with the understanding that 40% of really the Intel work staff, and I'm assuming the same with some of these others, are not necessarily needing just engineer degree people with undergrad, masters, and PhD, but people to be able to run the machines. Do you see U of A expanding in this kind of space as well, potentially in Chandler, to further give opportunity to our either people coming back from the service or out of high school or changing degree programs to take advantage of something like that?
Mayor, absolutely. So part of what is really appealing to the U of A, and I don't really want to go out on a limb and speak for, but is that agility around the certificates that they offer. Right now, I think they're up to 11, let me just double check my notes here, 10 certificates that they're offering, with the majority of those being in um, complementary trades. So cyber informatics, manufacturing processes. So absolutely, certificates are very much a part of their emphasis here in Chandler.
Very good. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. And we talked earlier today about this a little bit. I had a little bit of heartburn on a couple of things. So I appreciate you clarifying that for me. This is an innovative idea. It's not very often that cities give dollars to help universities, which, get state funding and things like that. So it's definitely a step out. But I understand, as we discussed today, that it falls underneath the umbrella of economic development. We have this pipeline of workforce that we're trying to create a perfect ecosystem in Chandler, and we're very close to that. So I can see how this fits within this. Are there any KPIs associated to any of the dollars that are being provided? And then I had another question. How many students do we think we're going to be able to support, or will that depend on how the program goes forward? And then will this be general fund dollars, or will we be using bond funding since it's capital improvement?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Stewart, answering your last question first, general fund dollars. We don't have any KPIs built into the contract, but what we do with the U of A to track the performance of the programming is enrollees. And what we're seeing is about anywhere from a 10 to 20% enrollment growth annually in the programs. So that's what we keep a close eye on. And then we also benchmark that against the requests we're getting from our private sector employers in terms of the training that they're needing. So the mayor brought up a good example of on the certificate trainings. So we get that feedback. We go back to ASU, U of A, Chandler Gilbert Community College and say, hey, this is what we're hearing. Can you help develop something quickly and deliver that to the workforce? So that's how we work collaboratively to solve those issues on the fly.
That's great. So is the university soliciting funding from the companies as well? Are they getting some help with this, or are we just will that be something down the road maybe?
That's something that they're always out there doing. So whether it's Eller, whether it's engineering, whether it's law, which just opened up their Masters of Legal Studies here in downtown Chandler as well. They're out there working with the business community to really get their students placed. That's the KPI that they focus on, that to fit their business model, not necessarily in-kind funding.
Thank you, Micah.
Yep.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mike, first of all, this is a great opportunity for the Chandler residents to get involved, a great opportunity for the students to kind of learn that there's another resource if they're not looking to go outside of Chandler. But I think that, can you just talk to the evolution of how Chandler has evolved into this like secondary, promoting this secondary, this post-secondary type swing, just in terms of economic development?
Absolutely. Through the mayor, Councilmember Harris, I think part of the history has always been rooted in access to education. Chandler has always been seen as a community of education. We've really leaned into that. Part of us being innovative and responding to the workforce is making sure we're listening to them and then developing it. And I think your point around engaging with the community is critical. Part of one of the metrics in the contract is community engagement. One of the things we really wanted from the university was to be visible and engaged in the community. So they have 6 engagements that they're supposed to be doing both at academic and athletic levels for the students they're serving here, which is something new. We haven't really asked that of them in the past. We're wanting to have make sure the university has a closer relationship to Chandler residents as opposed to relying on what's happening down in Tucson. So that's part of the expansion, is really giving our residents opportunity to walk into a physical space and get that one-on-one experience.
All right. Any additional questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Micah. Well, council, we have our second public hearing on Thursday. We'll also have an opportunity to vote on these items, and preceding both are, we have our second budget session. So with that, I believe our meeting is over.